Shalom, or praise is due to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash, the bonus to the elect, apostle, bishops, elders at Great Millstone, every well. Shalom to elect Ak out there, doing this work in sincerity and truth, and not for vainglory in season out of season. Shalom to the elect, men, women, sons, and daughters of the nation of Israel, which are the elect of the men, women, sons, and daughters of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and the Americans scattered through the four corners of the earth. Okay, so I just want to bring this out. This is Deuteronomy, the 25th chapter, and I start at the 21st verse. Okay, it says, let me see. You know what? I'll start at the 20th verse. Okay. It says, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, his wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian, which was Israelite, of course, Pada Aram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. It says, and Isaac entreated Yahweh, the Lord, for his wife, because she was barren, meaning she couldn't have, he was having sex with her. He was putting his seed in her, which is his sperm, but she didn't get pregnant. Okay. You know, you have a lot of so-called white people, you know, and even, you know, a few so-called Negroes, Latinos, and the Americans that, you know, even though the man is putting his sperm in her to get her pregnant, you know, for some reason that, you know, they just can't get pregnant. Esau, which is a so-called white man, he has those clinics, you know, to try to make the so-called white woman pregnant, you know, and you know, because for some reason she's barren, you know, but that's what was happening here. You know, he was having sex with Isaac was having sex with Rebecca, but you know, she couldn't have any babies, okay, because her womb was barren. The Most High made her womb barren, okay, you know, where the seed wouldn't take, okay, she wouldn't get pregnant. It says, and Isaac entreated of Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebecca his wife conceived. So she finally had conceived, you know, she finally got pregnant, right? And it says and the children struggled. Hold up, you know, let me go to 22, because this is the point that I'm trying to make in this video. Right. It says, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh, the Lord. So the point that I'm trying to make, and it says, and the children struggled together within her. Those children, the sons of Isaac, right? Okay. They were struggling together, meaning they were fighting in the womb. Okay. You know, and as you read down, apparatus of which you want to read down, one baby was the so-called black man. The other baby was the so-called white man, and they were fighting in the womb. Okay. They were literally fighting in Rebecca's womb. So we never got along. Okay. The so-called black man, which all you so-called West Indians, Haitians, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, Mexicans, Panamanians, okay, Cubans, you know, the 12 tribes of Israel come out of the loins out of the waters, which is the sperm of Judah, which is the so-called black man. Okay, you know, and that's what it is, and you're gonna learn that soon enough. Okay, it says, and the children struggled together within her. You know, the so-called black man and the so-called white man was fighting in a womb. So, in other words, they were trying to take each other out, basically. You know, fighting in a womb because the firstborn son gets inheritance of the father, and we know Isaac was blessed. You know, when you read the scriptures, all right. Isaac was a so-called black man, all right, from the tribe of Judah, okay, which is a so-called black man. In the Hebrew, Yahwadah, all right. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh, okay. And Yahweh said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So that gives you a clear distinction of there's two different nations in her womb. Okay. All right. There's two different kind of people in her womb, because nations are different from each other, even though, at the Tower of Babel, they try to make all nations one, right? And over here in America, they try to make everybody follow as the law of the government, to try to make everybody the same people, which, they call them Americans, when they're different nations in the earth. Now, we know Trump is doing this thing. He's mainly doing it to the Latinos. He's mainly doing it to the West Indians and Haitians, deporting them back to their respective countries. But, still, at the end of the day, they want everybody to be as one, to be as Americans and not their nations that they come from. Okay. All right. It says, and Yahweh, the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, two different nations. Okay. You got the so-called black man, which would be Jacob. You got the so-called white man, which would be Esau. Okay. And two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people. Right. And two nations shall be separated from thy bowels. So the Most High is all about separating nations. He's not about this one world order, bringing all nations together. Okay. All right. The one people shall be stronger than the other people. We know that's talking about Jacob, which would be the so-called black man, is stronger than the so-called white man. Okay. Even with our women, the so-called black woman is stronger than the so-called white man, spiritually, physically. Okay. All right. Even though we in our lowest state. Okay. I'm talking about you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. We in our lowest state, but we're still stronger than them. Okay. All right. We're catching hell. The so-called white man is living in a life of luxury. The rich of them, and even the rich of so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Americans are still under the rulership of the so-called white man, because their riches can be taken away from them at any time by the so-called white man, which is Esau. Okay. It's going to go into it. All right. All right. And we're stronger than the so-called white man. Okay. The so-called black man is stronger than the so-called white man. Going through slavery, living in the ghettos and the slums. You got rich so-called white people that can't live like how so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans live. But this is talking about the so-called black man, Jacob, which Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans come from. Okay. It says, and the elder shall serve the younger. Now, when you read on, Esau came out first, right? and which is the so-called white man, and Jacob came out after Esau. So it shows you that he's going to serve the so-called white man, which is Esau, which is the so-called white man, is going to serve Jacob, the so-called black man. All right. Okay. All right. It says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Okay. And after that came his brother out, Jacob, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 old when she bare them. You know, so that just symbolized that you know, Jacob's hand took hold of Esau's heel, meaning pulling the so-called white man Esau out of power, out of his rulership, because it goes into it in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter and the 9th verse. You know, so that was a prophecy that is going to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. You know, so we never got along with you so-called white people, man. The black man never got along with you so-called white people. Okay, you know, the so-called black man never got along with you so-called white people. You so-called white people, you never got along with the so-called black man. And this is from the womb. This is in the womb, yo, of Rebecca. Okay. We never got along. We always hated each other. Okay. And we're going to continue to hate each other. Okay. All this bullshit about, you know, let's all come together as one. And, you know, that's all bullshit, man. The so-called white man will always hate you so-called black men. And the so-called black man will always hate you so-called white men. Okay? Because we wasn't meant to be loving each other. We was always meant to hate each other. Okay? You know? And, you know, you see what's happening today, you know, going all the way back to when Esau came into power. We're going all the way back to Esau, you know. You know, he has a perpetual hatred for the so-called black man. And a black man has a perpetual hatred for the so-called white man. Now, if you're going to say, oh, there's black people that love white people, and there's white people that love black people, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people that know the word of the Lord, man. Okay? That's who matters any goddamn way. Okay? All right? But the so-called white man shows you that he hates you so-called Negroes 24 hours a day, man. He's shooting you down in the street. He's murdering you. You know, he's you still living in the ghettos and the slums. He's bringing all kind of policies against you. You know? Legislation against you, you know, to keep you in what? Desolation. Okay. And what I mean by the so-called white man Esau keeping you in desolation is what? Locking you up in the prison houses. Like the scriptures, there's more so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Americans in the prison houses than so-called white people. And this has been going on for, man, I mean, come on, man, for decades, yo. You know, during the sharecropping system, during slavery, when so-called black men came back from the war, man, what did they do? When they came back home, man, they got locked up over trumped up charges, man, and made slaves again. Working in factories and companies, you know, being sold to the highest company that these so-called white people made, and even to the same very day, man. Okay? Racial profiling. See, so this man has a perpetual hatred for you. You know? And those of us that are in the know, we have a perpetual hatred for the so-called fucking white man. Okay? I'm talking about you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Americans, which are the Israelites that know the truth. Okay? The scripture says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. Who oppresses slay them and hold themselves not guilty. That's talking about the so-called white man, yo. So-called white man is slaying us, man. He's our oppressor and he's slaying us. But that's making us angry. It's making us mad. Okay, I'm not talking about you simple-minded so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Americans that love the so-called white man. No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the men of the Lord, man. You know? All right? You know, so we never got along, man, from the beginning. From the beginning. Okay, when you go all the way back to the serpent in the garden, man, that was Esau, the so-called white man. He just wasn't called Esau then. And he had color back then. Okay? All right? It wasn't no damn serpent or snake. It was an actual man. Okay? And he beguiled Eve. Why? Because he is what? He is Satan. Okay? Which means the adversary. All right? And he's a false accuser, which the word devil means false accuser. And he falsely accuses his brother, Jacob, which is a so-called black man, every day. All right. See, oh yeah, look what the so-called black man, Latino, Native American man, and the man and woman is doing, Lord. Look, they eating pork, they shaving their beard, they praise the so-called white man, they praising idols, which you so-called set up the so-called white man. Okay? They're part of the LGBT community. You know? He's the first murderer of the earth. I'm talking about Esau, the so-called white man. Cain was Esau. Abel was the so-called Jacob, which was so-called. Cain was Esau. Abel was Jacob. Okay? All right? And Jacob had 12 sons, man, which represents the 12 tribes of Israel. You West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, and Native Americans. So we never got along with you, man. And you never got along with us, yo. All right? Okay? All right? 25th verse. And the first came out red all over like in hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So that's Esau, the so-called white man. Okay? That's Esau, which is the so-called white man. You know, I know he doesn't want to deal with that title because he knows the scriptures that Esau is going to go into slavery under Jacob. Hey, listen, the elder shall serve the younger, right? And there's many more scriptures on that. Esau came out first. Jacob came out after Esau and Jacob held on to Esau's heel. Okay? All right? Meaning the pulling down of his power, his rulership. Okay? It says, and after 26th verse, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. All right. So, I mean, hey, listen, man. You know, you could read on to it and see, you know, the situation that happened. But, you know, we never got along with you so-called white people, man. And you so-called white people never got along with Jacob, man, which is the black man, man, and 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. All right. So let's go to let's go to 2 Samuel, the 8th chapter and the 14th verse. All right. Well, let's go there. And let's see how Jacob treated you so-called white people, man. And let's see if we were friends, right? Let's see if we got along with you. Okay. All right. Let's see if we got along. Let's see if Jacob, so-called black man, got along, which is a tribe of Judah in the Hebrew Yahawada. Let's see if we were friends. Okay. All right. All right. 8th chapter and the 14th verse. Let's go here. Yeah. Okay. 2 Samuel is the 8th chapter and the 14th verse. It says, no, let's read the let's read the 13th verse. It says, and David got him a name when he returned from smiting of the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being 18,000 men. Okay. And he put garrisons in Edom, which is the so-called white man, by the way. Edom is in the Hebrew is Adawan, which means red. It said it first came out red all over like a hairy garment, right? Let's talk about the so-called white man, right? It says, and he put garrisons of Edom, and he put garrisons in Edom throughout all Edom, put he garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servants, which means slaves. And Yahweh preserved David whithersoever he went. All right. So, yeah, man. Hey, you know, we never got along, man. I mean, you were slaves unto us back during the time of David. All right. During the time of Solomon. Okay. Even during the time of Dark Ages, man. And then you took the yoke, you broke the yoke off your neck, and then you put the so-called black man in slavery, Latinos and Native American mans in slavery, which is Jacob, who had the 12 sons of Israel, man, which are the 12 tribes of Israel. But guess what? Your ass is going back in slavery, and you're going to be in slavery into your demise. The so-called black man, Latino, Native American man, going to put you in slavery into your extermination off the face of the earth. Okay? So, man, we ain't never get along with you. Okay? All right? And there's many more scriptures are going to that. All right? You know? Let me see. So David wasn't down with chilling with you so-called white people. So we ain't gonna chill with your ass to this very day, man. Esau, which is a so-called white man. Edom, which is a so-called white man. What is this? Amos 9 and 11? Let me see. Amos 9 and 11. Okay, how many Negroes, Latinos, and Americans is your friend? So-called white man. I don't mean shit. Okay, now. So now David had you at Edom as a servants back then when he was ruling in the ancient world. Let's see what's going to happen again. It says, in that day, Amos 9 and 11. It says, in that day will I rise up the tabernacle of David, man. So the days that's coming up now, man, David going to be risen back up, man. Okay? And rule over the nation of Israel and rule over you so-called white people and all you heathen nations, man. And in that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David, the house of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. So, build it as in the days of old. So if David had Edom as servants, meaning slaves, well, then it's going to happen again in the kingdom of heaven that's coming up by the power of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. So Esau, the so-called white man, Edom, the so-called woman, you're going to be slaves again under David. Okay? And it didn't say David came out red and hairy. No, so David had to be a so-called black man. Okay? So you can't say that. So you were slaves, you were servants under David back then in the ancient world. You're going to be slaves under David again in the kingdom of heaven to come. All right? Which is going to be set up by Yahweh through his son, Yahweh Shai. All right? What the Lord called JC. And you're going to be in slavery again, Esau, the so-called white man. There's many, many scriptures to go into it. All right? All right, so let's get what is this? Okay, yeah, that's it. That's it. I ain't got to go into it. Hey, man, David coming back to put the ass whooping on you, Esau, so-called white man. Okay? He gonna raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and raise up the ruins as of old, man. So Esau, the so-called white man, Edom, the so-called white man, you going right back in slavery. You, your woman, your little kids, you're all going back into slavery. All right. There's many scriptures that go into that. But I hope you've been edified. And with that, shalom.